Good afternoon and welcome to Chat and Chew. This program is brought to you by the Selma Center for Nonviolence, Truth, and Reconciliation, as well as the Black Belt Community Foundation. We do work with Kellogg TRHT, which is Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation. I always have a problem saying it. Um, and today we're taking a break kind of in between our Foot Soldier edition.
What soldiers at, man? What the fuck soldiers?
I know everybody was looking for the Foot Soldiers.
Man, bro, they don't be playing. They be lit.
We're gonna take a break and we're gonna talk about voter education and educating ourselves when it comes to voting. And so today we have the dope, the talented, the one man show. We have Mark Miles on today, and we're just gonna be kind of based, like bouncing some common questions off of each other. Mm-hmm. Just letting our community know what's up. And this is not stuff that we just kind of pulled off the top of our head. We did do, some research as well as personal knowledge with things. So we're gonna make sure we give y'all the best information. So we're gonna go ahead and just jump in because we already been talking about voting a lot, y'all. A lot.
That's social media, everybody election. Some people saying they're gonna be in line. Some people saying they vote absentee. Some people saying they trying to vote by mail. So it's definitely a lot of people are engaged about this upcoming election, though. I think the thing.
Right. So we're just gonna talk about some basic.
How does a person register to vote?
Okay, so jumping in, how does a person register to vote? So, the first way is two ways. You have the online way and then you have the mail way. The online way, you go to the Alabama Secretary of State website and follow those directions, and then you can sign up that way, or you can do the mail version, which is finding the ballot, printing the ballot out, filling it in, and mailing it to your local board of registers. And the importance of that is mailing it on time, not the day before or the day of, but mailing it on time to ensure that your vote is counted. So those are two simple ways to register.
Mm-hmm. And I think it has to be before you vote election, like 2 weeks prior.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like a 2 week, time lapse before you send it in. And not before you send it in, but before you get it to them. So you can vote in that upcoming election. Because they still will register you whenever you do it. But if you want to vote in the upcoming election, it has to be 2 weeks. So you need to make sure you be within that time span so you can vote. And so your vote will be counted.
So is it too late for people to do absentee votes? When is the deadline for that?
You said when is the deadline?
Where you can go and do the absentee vote. Is there a deadline like right before elections?
No, I think you can do it up until the day of.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know they're doing early voting. So
and that's a good thing. Yeah, so you're able to vote. It definitely do early voting.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So, a question for you, Mark.
I'm ready.
How does a person register to vote? Mm-hmm. What are the different ways a person can vote? What are the different forms of voting?
First of all, I'm gonna just be very clear about this. I would tell people to go and vote early. You know what I'm saying? Go to and that's like by absentee voting. So when you do early voting, you go fill out the absentee form first, and then when you take that form to the voter register, you take that form to the circuit clerk. You post your vote out, and then you go vote. You can vote by mail.
Okay.
You also can vote in person. So you can vote by mail, in person, and because it's still the same thing.
Right.
Even if you're gonna be voting in person.
Right.
So those are the ways. But I would definitely, because you think about it, like them lines can be kind of long. We in the midst of a pandemic, so I think it's best if everybody go ahead and just don't get their vote out the way.
Exactly.
And we are having an event this Saturday, from 8 to 12, and we're also having a DJ there, some speeches.
Okay.
You know, we gonna have some giveaways, some prizes. And so they're just a place to be this weekend. So you might as well come out this weekend and go cast your vote. I think it'll, and it's always blessed. You might win $500.
Prizes, money, shirts, a lot
Right,
of all this because people want you to vote. All this, see, all that free stuff.
right. And
Okay.
just think about it, like the people and I like when we was talking to Mr. Whitehead last time, like they weren't providing incentives to vote. Not saying
Mm,
be providing incentives, but they just wanted to vote because they just feel like that's what they just do. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
so I think when we understand the context of how we change the community, that's one aspect, voting, but also holding people accountable. You know what I'm saying? Making sure we hold people accountable that we did vote for. And when you don't vote, you're still voting. I think people know that because people say I didn't
Yeah,
vote. Well, you still voted, but your vote didn't count. So
right.
I let people know that.
Exactly. So on to the next question.
Oh, Summer, I got a question for you. How do you find your polling place? We talk
Good
about
question.
we talk about the ways to vote. How do you find your polling place? It just say you never voted before. Say you just turned 18, right? You like, man, well, I'm going to vote. Um, where do I go? How do you know where you go vote at?
Okay, so just like a personal experience, because I've always been in the county,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was like, when I moved into the city, I needed to change my address. So what I did was go on the Alabama Secretary of State website, and because somebody commented and said, make sure if you have changed addresses, please make sure you go to the right place and vote. And so after I did that, they sent me like a little card in the mail, and it had my polling place and everything on it. And I thought it was really cool. So that is one way you can find your location, which is the Alabama Secretary of State office website. And I think they have a lookup and they have where they'll mail you the actual location.
Mm-hmm.
Another website is vote.org.
Okay.
Website where you can just type in your address and then it'll pull it up. And then with the Alabama Secretary of State website, I think you put your first and your last name in, and then it pulls it up too. Is there
Mm.
a way? I got a question. Is it a way that you can do it in person? Like say you just was riding one day, you like, I want to know where to vote at next, whatever. Is it, or is it just an online process? Because
You talking about finding your polling place?
yeah.
No, I think we can go to your voter registrar.
Okay, okay,
They have the polling locations down with the precinct.
okay.
So I think matching
Yeah,
up.
I'm learning too. I'm 23. I'm still.
Yeah, so I think they have the information at the voter registrar office.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm learning too. I just learned something. And so, okay. Oh, another question, and I'm gonna answer because I just added this. What are common mistakes that lead to bad fiction?
First of all, don't send your ballot in too late. First of all, especially if you vote absentee. You know what I'm saying? Make sure
Right.
you ballot on time. And also, if you vote absentee, make sure you write in the right color ink.
Black or blue?
Yeah, black or blue. And sometimes they might be specific and just say black.
Mm-hmm.
It may be because I remember when I went and voted on Saturday, they had black ink there. They had black ink pens. And make sure you fill out your make sure you fill out all the information on your ballot. Because if you don't fill out some information, it can be rejected. You know.
Right.
So I think that's the main thing. And make sure you sign. Make sure you put your John Hancock on there. Because without your John Hancock, not know who.
And that's one of the things I was gonna say, making sure you properly sign your name, like consistently, not like a little scribble or whatever, but making sure that your ballot is complete, like Mark said, using the right color pen. Um, absentee mail vote, making sure that that's on time. A good way, I think, to ensure that your ballot is counted is to kind of vote in person.
Right.
If you got any questions or anything that's pressing, you can ask. You don't have to kind of take a chance and then your vote not get counted. But in person, if you had an issue, you could just ask about it.
Right.
And then making sure, another common mistake is being at the wrong polling place. And that goes back to our last question. Just making sure that you're at the correct polling place. And then we had somebody comment, making sure that you have a government identification.
Right.
You have everything that you need, so nobody can say you don't have this and you don't have this, so you can't vote. Because that makes people discouraged when you got to leave, and then you especially if you caught a ride and then you got to leave and try to come back. I'm not.
But you know what? With saying that, shout out to Renata White, and Inca, and just a coalition of people. That's what the Purple Tent is about. So when you see us, we're there to tell you where your polling place is, and we're also there to call you a ride. So I'm glad you said that. But that's why the whole Purple Tent idea came, to support voters. Because just think about it, if you walk there to go and vote, and they tell you your voting place is like a mile or two away, and you walking, likely like you might not feel like walking a mile. You have to walk like 2 or 3 miles to get back home. You know what I'm saying? So just like making it easier for the voters. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that they don't have any problems on their day. If they do have any problems, you troubleshoot and make sure we get them everything they need, so they can cast their ballot.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, we just talked about a lot of logistical stuff when it comes to voting, like what you need to have, how you need to fill out your ballot, how do you register, the different forms of voting. So we want to talk about now, like educating yourself. So the question I have for you, Mark, is why is it important to educate yourself on candidates and not blindly vote?
Because you don't want to vote for somebody that's going to press you. Like when you vote for somebody, when I vote with somebody, I'm looking for their stances on issues. Like when I vote for the president, I'm looking for his stances on raising minimum wage, his stances on healthcare, his stances on student debt, and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So educate yourself. If you don't educate yourself, you're not gonna know these stances. And so you just being there marking, guessing blindly, who to vote for, and that's not proper way to do it. People then stand on the bridge for you to be up there like, oh.
I like that name.
What's the name? What's the name? Bob Stevens. Okay, he your cousin. A lot of people vote. A lot of people vote for people because they know them. Because you know them or you cool with them. Vote for them because you know they're gonna do the best job. I think that's the problem that we have in a lot of, especially like in local elections, where people are like, well, he was my teacher. That's my cousin. And that's all for it, and that's all good, because I would never discourage anybody from running, but you need to make sure the person that you vote for has your best interests at heart, and that they have a track record of fighting for people. They have a track record of making the right stance, so that you can trust them with your vote. And after that, you need to make sure you still go to meetings, whether it's city council, whether that's mayor, whatever it is, to make sure you know what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, they speak for you. If you vote for them and they win, they speak for you.
Exactly.
Make sure when they're speaking for you. And if they're not, you have to remind them, like, you said before you were elected that you would do this. So why are you doing this? So I think it's always a good way to hold people accountable. And also get active in the community, because we just believe in voting. Voting is the first part of the social contract. You also got to hold accountable. You also got to do things and do things inside your community to make it better too. So it's just not. Oh, that's what me and Miss White was talking about. Like they were so focused on getting the vote. Now we have the vote. Now it's time for our generation and us to come together and expand and move that past that. You know what I'm saying?
That's good. I'm trying to see how to follow that up.
It's so silly.
Basically, everything you said, And also just having that power to know what people are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be at the table where I understand what people are saying and nothing is going over my head.
Mm-hmm.
To like when Mark said, following up with people, but you following up and you knowing what they're talking about, you knowing if they're going against something that's, you know, in a contract or anything, like you just want to be educated on what's going on around you. And
Mm-hmm.
outside of that, to, you know, because we hold our candidates and our officers accountable, but also like Mark said, taking on that personal thing, like doing stuff yourself also too. You know, we have people in office, but we also have to empower ourselves to say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
they have some beef going on right here. We still gonna cut this grass. We still gonna pick the trash up. We still gonna do that, and that's gonna empower you to want to be a part of something. That might empower you at 18, 19. Say, hey, one day I'm gonna run for city council. One day I'm gonna run for mayor or something. So even if you know you can't vote right now, even if you're just in the education stage, just keep educating yourself.
And for
Um,
and just for this for candidates, so like, and just for candidates who didn't win, like, I still don't look at it. You know, I know we talk about wins, losses, and all that, but long as you trying to fight for the community and being active, man, that's a win, man. I know we might not look at it like that, and I want candidates to stay engaged. You know what I'm saying? Because just because
right, exactly.
you know what I'm saying, that don't mean you won't win next time. You know, look at LeBron. Like LeBron win the championship every time he win, but he never stopped. He kept at it. He kept getting better. And so, you know what I'm saying, for those candidates who did lose, still keep engaged in the process and see what things you can do differently, not just in your campaign, but see what things you can do differently in the community to help foster and bring about the change that we need.
Right. Exactly. Because you can still do that without having a title. You can
Right.
still
Think about,
programs.
Malcolm X and and Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and some of the other people that never held the elected office.
Right.
Such influence that had so much pull in the community that when they talked, because people knew that when they talked, people knew that they were serious about what they said.
Right.
No, so people took them real serious. So it's just about. I think sometimes we know we need good elected officials, but we need people in the community that are serious about the community. So it's like a part.
Exactly.
We
Because it made me think back to the movement. Every little big county, the people that made sandwiches, the people that kept the kids, the people that, you know, made sure during the Selma to Montgomery March, like all those duties outside of people that were in the forefront the whole time. So, you know, that's a good challenge to people. Still do what you was gonna do. Just if it was me, I'd still act like I'm in office. You know, I'd be my own, whatever. But I'm still gonna do those programs. I'm still gonna engage those kids. You know, keep pushing. And you know, another thing that shows people real commitment, because like if you run again and people like such and such this whole year, you know, has been doing this. She's been doing this. So we should put her in office or whatever. So that just shows people that you're committed, even when you're not, with a title or whatever.
mm-hmm. Correct. So, Summer, what are some ways we can educate ourselves on candidates and what they stand for? Like, what are some ways we can educate ourselves?
Oh, it's so many ways. I know everybody like Facebook and Twitter and like that. Those are good ways, but also Google is a good way. Also watching debates. Like I've never really, and I'm gonna be honest, never really sat and watched the debate until
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Trump and Mr. Biden were on there, and it was very interesting, you know, to say that I've been missing out on it. Just in the past, not paying attention to that. It took a whole bunch of stuff happening for me to say, okay, I'm gonna sit and watch this. And you know, it shouldn't take that. But that's a good way to educate yourselves on people. Look at their personalities outside of what they say they're gonna do. You see people personalities when they under pressure when you watch debate. You can do Google. It's just so many different ways, you know. It's so easy to look up their policies and what they stand for. But as far as like personalities, I think like Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, that really shows you, you know, who a person really is.
It does. Yeah, the
Because
social media.
they kind of just raw on social media.
Mm-hmm. You're right. and just being, but also like some you said social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, social media, but also looking to see what they've done and going up there and talking to them. Like,
Right.
that's the best thing you can do. Go talk to them and see, ask them like, Mr. Davis, why are you running for mayor? Why are you
Right.
running for city council? What values do you bring? How can you move the city forward? It's always good to go talking and engage a candidate on what they stand for and on their policy, and then also kind of do some research to see if what they said really lines up, to see if they really stand for that, what they said they did. It always.
Exactly. Because you want to complete your ballot, but you don't want to blindly complete your ballot. You don't want to complete your ballot because you don't know who you voting for. You want to complete it because you know every box you checking. I know this person. I know what they're doing. I know. So that's another big part of education. We want complete ballots, but we also want to know who we vote for. We don't want to just vote just to say, "Oh, I finished." So educating is like a really big piece, especially for young people that can't vote at this point. Educate yourself. Just keep watching, learn the terminologies. That was the biggest thing for me. Why I kind of checked out of politics was the word and the verbiage. I was like, this is really boring. But
Right.
like it's life though. It's gonna happen. It's just like science. It's there. It's there. So you either adapt or like the book we read, act or be acted upon.
Right.
You adapt and you learn, or you just kind of let the world go around you and just kind of like, oh my goodness, this.
Mom,
Oh my.
Mom Kelly said you either on the table or on the menu.
Yeah. For real. So we want to be ahead of the game. We want to know what people talking about. We want to be able to tell our community members things they don't know. If you meet somebody, they say, I'm not gonna vote. You want to be able to encourage them to vote. If they're and they don't want to vote because I never voted, I never filled out a ballot, I never do. You want to be able to tell them, oh, this is this simple, do it like this, make sure you have your ID, make sure you have the right color pen, make sure you're signing right. You want to be able to educate community members.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about entertainers and celebrities telling people to vote, like the whole Ice Cube situation?
What was that situation?
Ice Cube, he said he talked to the Democrats and the Republicans, and so he came up with a plan called the Platinum Plan. And so Donald Trump is endorsing that plan. So Donald Trump, right? And a lot of people, but Ice Cube got a lot of backlash. So people like, man, you can't, because people say like Trump used to manipulate people or whatever like that.
That's so hard.
I know, but I think we should talk to both sides. I don't think we should just, I think black people have always been Democrats. So, you know what I'm saying? People respect.
And that's something my mom was saying. We just automatically say I'm a Democrat and vote Democrat, but they don't talk about, certain parties represent stuff that you actually are for, and you got to pay attention. You can't just say I'm gonna vote Democrat and then you got to know what you're voting for, and that's a good point.
I think educate, and that goes back to what you're saying. So I'm educating yourself, like educate yourself on the issues, and whoever got the best stances and the best track record for moving on the issues,
Yeah, and be educated voters. Let's break generational stuff. I say it like that, where we just vote and we don't think about it, we don't talk about it, we don't have conversations about it. Let's be the generation that changed it, and let's make that a normalized conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Politics, because the stuff is happening and it's going to affect us in the long run. Medicaid expansion, just different stuff that I never thought I would be thinking about. I'm thinking about it now. So that's the biggest thing with educating yourself. And
then also moving forward, because some things that might not affect me, that don't mean they don't. If it affects somebody else, you know what I'm saying? Because I see their humanity. So sometimes,
with the Medicaid expansion thing, I was sitting in at the thing at the hospital, the workshop they had, and just listening to people's personal stories, like talk about how they're in rural areas and they have to drive so many miles to get to the hospital, and then those hospitals are in fear of being closed.
Right.
Like, And even though it's not affecting me right now, I never know where I would be, or a family member or anything could be in that situation. So we gotta pay attention, like Mark said, even if it's not at our front door, you never know when, it could be at your front door. You never know when that issue could probably not hit you, but somebody close to you. And you want to be able to advocate and know what you're talking about.
Right. And then if Medicaid was expanded, a lot of those hospitals, those rural hospitals, wouldn't be closing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why I say we have to vote for people who have our best interests.
Right.
I look at it, if you could do right by the people, then that should always be your first intention. If you elected official. Now, if you have ulterior motives, then that's something different. But why not expand Medicaid if these many people are dying in rural hospitals? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that's when it comes to like partisan stuff. Like when it comes to, because some people like, well, we can't expand it. We can't expand healthcare because that's a Democrat idea. No,
Right.
human idea. That's a human idea, because that's what we need, especially in rural counties. You know what I'm saying? If you got to drive 45 minutes, just say somebody God forbid somebody get shot or something, they got to drive an hour to get something. They might not make it. Well, if they were just drive 5 or 10 minutes to get to the hospital, they probably can save their life. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Yeah.
as elected officials, we got to always hold them accountable to do what's in the best interest of the people, even when they don't want to do, even when they don't know when they aren't leaning to that. We got to do everything via social media, via protests, or whatever we can do. Direct action, you know what I'm saying? To make sure that that people what they need at the end of the day.
And that's what Linda was speaking on. She was like, back then they were fighting for civil rights, and now we fight for human rights, basic human rights, to have access to a hospital in rural areas and things like that. And another thing that she was speaking on was going back to making sure you know what's on the ballot, the amendments that are on the ballot, making sure you educate yourself on amendments, because
I'm just be very transparent, man. There were so many amendments on this ballot, and I did not know, and I just felt so bad, man. I really felt, because I didn't know what a right yes or no. But some of them weren't even in Dallas County. Some were in other counties.
wow,
Mark the wrong thing for somebody else. So I got this. We have to do more.
yeah.
More educate people on those amendments. And so I was blind, man. I didn't know what to do. You know what I'm saying?
And like me, and I'm gonna be transparent, even more transparent. I don't know. I probably know like 4 amendments.
It was like 10 amendments.
Like, you don't want to vote for something for another county and then it be something bad or something.
So I think we need to maybe we need to hold a virtual class on telling people what the amendments are. You know what I'm saying? And telling people what, actually, because you can't tell people how to vote. You can educate them
Exactly.
so they can make the best choice and decision. You know what I'm saying? So I think that'd be
Exactly.
good on the amendments. I'm glad you brought that up, because when I flipped over, I didn't know. Like, I was like, man, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, am I supposed to vote for this? There was a lot of amendments about the Constitution. I'm reading it, trying to break down and decipher what are they really trying to say.
Right. Because that's something Ms. Linda was stressing. And then Ms. Linda, if you watching, I'm calling you out because we need to do a class with you. Mm-hmm. There was something she was talking about, like the lack of knowledge around amendments and how important those amendments are, for us to not really know what's going on, how we should really educate ourselves on it. And so that's my personal challenge for a lot of people that's watching. If you view this later, educate yourself on the amendments, definitely, along with the candidates, but definitely with the amendments. And thank you, Mark, for being transparent about it, because I was definitely going to say, like,
yeah, I like being in the spot where I'm telling people they need to make sure they educate. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not educated about something, so I'm definitely gonna have to, work on that for the upcoming elections. And then, and so people will know, what are those about and what do they actually stand for? Because it's hard to decipher and read between the lines, when you don't have that much time. If you could sit down and do some research and break it down and figure out from there and just ask other people, then you probably can get a lot more information. So I think you have to be more targeted with making targeted with making it happen so people can understand the amendments and know how to vote properly for those amendments.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, this was a great conversation. To close this conversation out, I got one more question for you, Mark.
Okay.
What personal commitments can we make during the elections? You could talk about your personal commitments or personal commitments that other people can make.
Okay. First of all, you can make a commitment to vote.
Right.
Second of all, you can make a commitment to bring somebody with you to the polls. Third of all, you can make a commitment when you're voting to hold that person accountable, whoever wins the office. And fourth of all, make a personal commitment to do whatever you can do in your community to make it better.
Right. That's everything. Basically, those are personal commitments. Even if you can't vote right now, if you're 18, 17, you can't vote.
Exactly.
Make a personal commitment to get somebody a ride. Make a personal commitment to wake your parents up and make sure they vote. You know, calling everybody, call around, and
right. At school, remind your teacher.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so many different levels of personal commitment you can make. And I thank you so much for this conversation, Mark.
I really appreciate it.
I'm gonna try to follow up with a conversation about the amendments for real.
I think we can get talk to Miss Lowry and see how we can spearhead that and see what we need to do to make sure people educated, especially ourselves, so we can know how to break it down when we talk to people about the amendments.
Exactly. So this was a great conversation. A lot of knowledge, a lot of things around voter education, and making sure the biggest thing is educating yourself.
Right.
Simple on voter education, how to vote, the polls, all this, but knowing what's actually on the ballot, like this, the most important thing. And so thank y'all. Thank everybody who tuned in, and we're gonna be back Thursday at 3:00. Make sure you tune in. And yeah. All right.